For decades, people have argued about this: dogs or cats. Which one is smarter? Recently, scientists tried to answer this in a direct way. Not by watching behavior, not by training tricks, but by measuring the brain itself. In 2017, neuroscientist Susanna Herculano-Houzel and her team published a study in Frontiers in Neuroanatomy. They counted neurons in the cerebral cortex. They found that dogs have about 530 million cortical neurons, while cats have about 250 million. If neurons are the basic units of information processing, this seems to suggest that dogs should be more intelligent. So the answer looks clear, but it isn't. Let's examine what this study actually measures. The method used is called the isotropic fractionator. Brain tissue is chemically processed so that cell nuclei can be counted directly. This allows researchers to estimate the total number of neurons. This is more precise than simply measuring brain size. For example, elephants have larger brains than humans, but fewer cortical neurons. So counting neurons matters. However, this method measures quantity, not function. More neurons mean more potential computational capacity. But intelligence is not just about capacity. It's about how that capacity is organized and used. For example, network structure, connectivity, and energy constraints all affect cognitive performance. So from this study, we can say, dogs have more cortical neurons than cats. But we cannot conclude dogs are twice as intelligent. To understand intelligence and behavior, researchers study how animals solve problems. One influential line of research comes from Brian Hare and colleagues. In a 2002 study, dogs and chimpanzees were given a simple task. 2 containers are placed in front of the animal. Food is hidden in one of them. A human points to the correct container. The question is, can the animal use the human pointing gesture to find the food? The results were striking. Dogs reliably followed the human pointing cue. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, often failed. This suggests that dogs are highly attuned to human communicative signals. Further studies replicated this finding across different conditions. Dogs can use eye gaze, body orientation, and even subtle social cues. This is often described as advanced social cognition. Cats are often seen as less social, but research suggests a more nuanced picture. Work by Kristen Vitale has explored cat-human relationships. In a 2019 study published in Current Biology, cats were tested using the secure base test, a method originally used for human infants. The procedure is simple. A cat is placed in a room with its owner. Then the owner leaves and later returns. Researchers observe how the cat behaves. The findings showed that many cats display secure attachment patterns, similar to dogs and human children. They seek proximity, show distress when separated, and use the owner as a base of security. This indicates that cats do form social bonds. However, their behavior is less consistent and more context-dependent than dogs. At this point, a critical issue emerges. How we measure intelligence shapes what we find. Most cognitive tests are designed around cooperation, following instructions, interacting with humans. Dogs, due to domestication, are highly motivated to engage with humans. Cats are less so. In fact, researchers often report that one of the biggest challenges in cat cognition studies is simply getting cats to complete the experiment. So when cats perform worse in tests, we must consider an alternative explanation. Not inability, but lack of motivation. This is known as a measurement bias. To understand these differences, we need an evolutionary perspective. Dogs evolved from wolves, social hunters that rely on cooperation and communication. Cats evolved as solitary predators, optimizing for stealth, timing, and efficiency. These different ecological pressures lead to different cognitive specializations. This framework is often referred to as cognitive ecology. Under this view, intelligence is not a single scale, but a set of adaptations to specific environments. So, are dogs smarter than cats? Science gives us data, but not a single answer. Dogs may have more neurons and stronger social cognition. Cats may show greater independence and context-specific problem solving. The conclusion is not that one is smarter, it's that intelligence depends on what you choose to measure.
Understanding animals isn't about romance, it's about evidence and instinct.